July 27, 2026. A new decree signed in Moscow today mandates an expansion of the Russian armed forces to 2.4 million personnel by 2030. This development follows emerging evidence indicating Ukraine's deployment of Dutch Ruta Block 1 cruise missiles within contested territories near Kharkiv. Meanwhile, Lockheed Martin announced the unveiling of a miniaturized Patriot missile system designed for rapid response capabilities. We examine these interconnected developments involving Ukraine, Russia, and Iran. Ukraine's recent deployment of Dutch Ruta Block 1 cruise missiles marks a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict, adding another layer to the evolving battlefield dynamics around cities like Toretsk and Avdiivka. These low-cost missiles represent Ukraine's accelerating shift towards mass-produced, long-range strike capabilities, allowing for deeper penetration into Russian-held territory and targeting of critical infrastructure beyond the immediate front lines. The Ruta Block 1 emergence highlights a growing trend: Ukraine's ability to adapt and integrate diverse weaponry from international partners despite persistent supply chain challenges. Meanwhile, Lockheed Martin has unveiled what they are calling a baby Patriot missile, a smaller, more rapidly produced interceptor designed specifically to address the urgent demand for anti-ballistic missile defenses. This development comes as Ukraine continues to plead for increased supplies of Patriot systems and interceptors, reflecting the intense pressure on its air defense network against Russian aerial attacks. The new missile aims to streamline production and reduce costs while maintaining a crucial defensive capability, potentially allowing allies to bolster their own shield capabilities more effectively. The strategic implications are clear. Both sides are actively seeking technological advantages to counter each other's strengths. Russia's continued offensive operations in the Donbas region, particularly around Pokrovsk, necessitate robust air defenses and precision strike capabilities for Ukraine. Oryx visual documentation confirms that since February 2022, Russia has suffered staggering losses: over 3,500 tanks, nearly 7,800 armored vehicles, and 350 aircraft, representing the largest confirmed equipment loss in modern warfare. While these losses have undoubtedly hampered Russian advances, they also underscore the intensity of the fighting and the ongoing strain on both nations' military resources. The introduction of new missile systems like the Ruta Block 1 and the Baby Patriot demonstrate a commitment to maintaining operational effectiveness despite those losses, signaling that neither side is prepared to concede ground easily. The competition for advanced weaponry isn't confined to Ukraine. Syria now faces increased difficulty securing equipment as international suppliers prioritize Kyiv's needs, further complicating an already unstable situation. Russia's own modernization efforts are accelerating in response to the lessons learned from this conflict, and analysts predict a renewed focus on 1,535,000 uniformed troops will comprise a significantly expanded Russian armed forces, according to a decree signed by President Vladimir Putin on July 27, 2026. The new authorized size of the military is set at 130 personnel, representing a substantial increase in Russia's overall military capacity. This decision comes amidst ongoing tensions along multiple fronts and signals a clear intent to bolster defensive capabilities while maintaining offensive options. Analysts suggest this expansion isn't solely reactive. It reflects a long-term strategy of projecting power and reshaping the security landscape across Eastern Europe. The decree outlines a phased implementation, likely spanning several years, requiring significant investment in recruitment, training, and equipment procurement. We are already observing increased activity around military facilities in Voronezh and Kursk, with reports indicating accelerated construction of new barracks and logistical hubs. The expansion will undoubtedly impact the composition of units deployed near the Ukrainian border, potentially allowing for a greater concentration of forces along key sectors like the Donbas region and Zaporizhzhia Oblast. Furthermore, it's anticipated that this increase in manpower will enable Russia to reinforce positions in Bryansk, bolstering defenses against potential incursions or probing actions. The strategic implications are considerable. While Moscow maintains the expansion is primarily defensive, designed to counter perceived NATO aggression, the sheer scale of the buildup raises concerns among allied nations. The increased troop numbers could allow for a more robust response to any future escalations in Ukraine and provide greater flexibility for operations elsewhere. Military observers note that this increase will also likely impact Russia's ability to maintain pressure on neighboring states like Armenia and Azerbaijan, potentially influencing regional power dynamics. The modernization of equipment accompanying this personnel expansion is equally important, with reports suggesting a focus on advanced air defense systems and electronic warfare capabilities, further complicating the operational environment for opposing forces. This development underscores Moscow's commitment to maintaining a formidable military presence capable of projecting influence across a wide geographic area. The evolving situation in Russia now casts a long shadow eastward, as similar patterns of military buildup are being detected within Iran's armed forces. The deployment of EA-37BS to RAF Fairford marks a significant escalation in the ongoing tensions with Iran. These specialized electronic attack aircraft, also known as Spectres, arrived at the Royal Air Force Base earlier this week amid heightened rhetoric from Tehran, which has publicly threatened attacks against RAF Fairford itself. The base serves as a critical hub for United States Air Force operations projecting power into the Middle East, including bomber missions targeting Iranian facilities and supporting broader surveillance activities across the region. Its strategic location in Gloucestershire and England allows for rapid deployment to hotspots like Isfahan and Tabriz, enabling swift response capabilities against potential threats. The EA-37B's primary function is disrupting enemy communications and radar systems through sophisticated electronic warfare techniques. This capability is particularly relevant given Iran's reliance on advanced radar networks, protecting key nuclear sites and military installations. The presence of these aircraft at RAF Fairford signals a clear message of deterrence, intended to discourage further destabilizing actions by Iranian proxy forces in the Persian Gulf and beyond. Analysts suggest that the increased deployment also reflects concerns about potential asymmetric warfare tactics employed by Iran, including cyberattacks targeting critical infrastructure within allied nations. The timing of this move is noteworthy, occurring alongside continued reports of escalating naval confrontations in the Strait of Hormuz, a vital waterway for global oil shipments, while direct military action remains avoided. The heightened state of alert underscores the fragility of regional stability and the potential for miscalculation. The vulnerability of RAF Fairford itself to Iranian threats highlights the expanding scope of this conflict, extending beyond traditional battlefield engagements into the realm of strategic infrastructure targeting. This development necessitates a comprehensive reassessment of defensive postures across allied bases operating in proximity to areas of heightened geopolitical risk. As tensions simmer in Iran, similar patterns of aggressive posturing and proxy warfare are now being observed along the Armenia-Azerbaijan border, suggesting a wider trend of regional instability fueled by external actors. During Project Convergence Capstone 6, Army Aviation demonstrated a networked strike sequence involving 3 reconnaissance drones, marking a significant advancement in battlefield coordination. The large-scale experimentation event, held at Fort Irwin in California, showcased the potential of integrating unmanned aerial systems into complex combat scenarios. 2 drones initially located and identified a simulated threat, paving the way for a 3rd drone to engage with precision weaponry. This successful test represents a crucial step toward realizing the Army's vision of a distributed and networked force capable of rapid response across diverse terrains. The implications extend beyond simple target acquisition. It signifies an evolution in how intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance data is utilized to directly inform offensive actions, potentially shortening engagement timelines and reducing risk to ground personnel. Elsewhere, lawmakers recently participated in a tabletop exercise hosted by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, simulating responses to Chinese cyberattacks during a hypothetical conflict involving Taiwan. Representatives grappled with scenarios depicting attacks on U.S. infrastructure, highlighting vulnerabilities and prompting discussions regarding defensive strategies. The simulation underscored the escalating threat of state-sponsored cyber warfare, particularly in regions like the Indo-Pacific where tensions remain high. Experts believe that a potential conflict over Taiwan could easily spill into cyberspace, targeting critical assets within the United States, including power grids in Atlanta and financial networks centered in New York City. The exercise revealed challenges in attribution, definitively identifying the source of an attack and coordinating responses across various government agencies and private sector entities. The convergence of these two developments, the advancement of missile-armed drones and heightened awareness of cyber threats, suggests a battlefield where physical and digital domains are inextricably linked. While Army aviation refines its ability to rapidly deploy precision strikes from the air, adversaries are simultaneously developing capabilities to disrupt communications networks and cripple critical infrastructure. The question now becomes, can the U.S. military effectively integrate these evolving technologies while maintaining resilience against increasingly sophisticated cyberattacks, or will future conflicts be defined by a constant struggle for control in both physical and virtual spaces? The recent confluence of developments across multiple theaters reveals a discernible shift in strategic capabilities and postures among key actors. Ukraine's deployment of Dutch Ruta Block 1 cruise missiles represents a significant, albeit incremental, advancement in its long-range strike arsenal. The utilization of these relatively low-cost missiles signals an accelerating trend toward mass production and increased range, suggesting Kyiv is prioritizing saturation strikes against Russian logistical nodes and command centers, likely targeting areas beyond the immediate front lines. This capability directly addresses Russia's continued ability to resupply forces and maintain operational tempo in eastern Ukraine. Russia's decree expanding its armed forces to 2.4 million personnel, effective July 2026, is a long-term strategic adjustment rather than an immediate response to battlefield pressures. While the timeline allows for recruitment and training, it underscores Moscow's intent to sustain a large military footprint and potentially expand operational scope beyond Ukraine. The increase in uniformed troops to 1.535 million suggests a move toward greater self-sufficiency in manpower, reducing reliance on contracted personnel and Wagner Group-style formations. Lockheed Martin's unveiling of the Baby Patriot missile directly addresses an acute shortfall in interceptor availability for both Ukraine and allied nations. The urgency highlighted by Kyiv's requests demonstrates the continued pressure from Russian ballistic missile attacks and drone swarms. Deployment of these smaller, more agile interceptors could offer improved area defense capabilities, particularly against maneuvering targets, but their effectiveness remains contingent on integration with existing air defense systems. The concurrent arrival of EA-37B electronic warfare aircraft at RAF Fairford, coupled with Iranian threats targeting the base, escalates tensions in the Middle East theater. This deployment is a direct response to ongoing U.S. operations against Iran and reflects Tehran's increasing willingness to directly challenge American assets. The potential for conflict escalation remains high, particularly given the proximity of critical infrastructure supporting regional military operations. Finally, the U.S. Army's successful testing of missile-armed drones during Project Convergence highlights a growing emphasis on networked drone warfare. The demonstrated ability of reconnaissance drones to identify targets and cue precision strikes from other platforms signifies an evolution in battlefield targeting and engagement protocols. This capability is likely to be rapidly integrated into future operational deployments, potentially altering the dynamics of both offensive and defensive operations. Over the next 30-90 days, expect continued Russian pressure along the Eastern Front, with intensified efforts to seize territory around Avdiivka and Bakhmut. Ukraine will likely continue utilizing its expanded long-range strike capabilities, targeting Russian rear areas. The Middle East theater is poised for increased volatility, potentially triggered by miscalculation or escalation of proxy conflicts. The proliferation of drone technology across all theaters suggests a future characterized by increasingly asymmetric warfare, requiring adaptation in both defensive and offensive strategies.